when you lose your life partner and it's the love of your life and you know it, you can't even imagine moving forward without them.
Challenges. There's no denying we all have them. These are the stories of ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges and emerging better on the other side. I'm Cheryl Hunter. As a teenager, I was kidnapped and held captive. Today, my mission is to let you know that you are bigger than anything that can ever come your way. Join us for these extraordinary stories and be reminded that your true nature is to rise. Have you ever faced a loss so debilitating or grief that was so dark and deep that you wondered if you'd get through to the other side? If so, you're not going to want to miss Kristine Carlson. You have had a remarkable journey. Share it with us.
I feel like my whole life has been a remarkable journey in so many ways, but I really hit sort of a large pivot turn back in December of '06, and that day just started out like any other day for me and our girls and my husband. You know, he had traveled a lot and he was left the night before for a hotel just to stay in San Francisco before he flew on a flight to New York. And on the flight, on the descent of the flight from New York, he had a pulmonary embolism. And I mean, I'll never forget that how difference between one day life is this way and then hours later your life is forever shifted and forever changed. And Richard was just this amazing spirit, this amazing man. He had done his life work. He loved his work. He was the author, the lead author in the Don't Sweat the Small Stuff book series. Mine and my girls' lives, his parents' lives, all of his friends, you know, he had that huge energy that he wasn't somebody that you would think would just walk out the door and not return in midlife like that. Sudden loss is so shocking. I mean, it really is. You know, our family, like probably so many families, we're just living our dreams. You know, we're just living the life that was there to live. You know, our kids were in school, and I mean, even the night before we were almost so busy. We talked to Richard, but the girls were doing their book reports for school. You know, it was just so busy. And, you know, from the moment that I heard, I mean, there was just a part of me that I just wanted to die. You know, I really did. When you lose your life partner and it's the love of your life and you know it, you know, you can't even imagine moving forward without them. I still tear because I miss him. And have I healed? Yes, I've healed. Have my kids not only survived but thrived? Yes, we are thriving. And I'm just so reminded, there were so many things initially that Richard taught, that he taught me, that were really like the life preservers to me in my, you know, stormy sea of grief. You know, like he had said that the circumstances of your life don't make or break you, they reveal you. And I remember that sitting on my fireplace just hours after hearing that he had passed, hours after donating his organs, knowing that I would never see this man that I loved so greatly again. I remember those words coming to me, and amidst everything, I remember attaching myself somehow to the blessings of my life and really saying, I could see that life was going to go one of two ways for me. I could see that I could easily fall into that category of woman that just went to bed and didn't wake up in the morning and just threw the covers over my head and said, I'm not doing this. Or I could get up every day, get my kids off to school, try and help them go through this process of grief that I knew nothing about at the time, but I knew it was going to be a process, and then come home to my own home and grieve, you know, and go through the process of grief and healing. But amidst that, I just remember thinking, you've been so blessed with so much. And sure, I wasn't really grateful at that point that this happened. You know, I can't say I was even grateful for having loved so greatly and so deeply and with such a, you know, beautiful love. That came later. You know, that came later after a lot of tears, a lot of laying on the floor and allowing grief to do its work, and a lot of miracles. that happened in that time period, in that first year. I mean, it was just an incredible year when I look back, like the fertile ground, you know, that you're in, and the awakening that can be so much a part of what self-discovery is. And you know, oftentimes it's when our lives are most annihilated that we wake up, and we wake up to what's really valuable and what's really real. And I have to say that Richard was a master of living that way. I mean, he left this poem all around our house just before he died, and it was "If Tomorrow Never Comes." And it was all about like making the most of every single day and every single hug and looking into the eyes of the people that you love. And we were so busy, but he lived that way. And I unfortunately was not living that way at that time. I was living, holding space for my family and busy, busy, busy. You know, I lived as if we had all the time in the world. So much of my life lessons, and really I call it like my 1,000 years of soul growth, happened, you know, because of my loss. And in so many ways, I'm living so much more awake and alive and more passion-filled today than I was, but I didn't know.
Right. Was there a specific moment that was a turning point?
I just think the shock of going through that loss just woke me up. You know, it just woke me up. And when you're not holding the perfect life anymore, and life is rather imperfect, then it's just is as it is. And I think there's a lot less pressure in that in a lot of ways. And you feel your life more. I think what was really amazing to me is that grief taught me to feel joy. And that the contrast of not knowing any of that was like, I guess I would say I was living rather asleep, you know, just in a more numb state. And I think there's a way in which when you go through that kind of loss that your heart opens or your heart closes. But the beauty of an open heart is that when your heart is broken and it has to mend, it expands. And as it expands, then your gratitude, your feelings of joy, your feelings of connection to humanity, I mean, it all expands. And I think that was the beautiful thing that happened to me, and I think that was the piece that in my own work, I didn't want other people to miss. Because if you have to go through that kind of suffering, and we all face suffering in our lifetime, we all face loss, then you don't want to miss those pieces that are actually, they're like the pivot turns in your own life that make your life greater.
So for those who are suffering, or like you said, who are just numb or missing life, what is your roadmap for resilience that you can offer to them? Access
your courage. You know, access the courage it takes to really stay tuned in to life. Because that's the first piece. You know, we all have to have courage to face the unknown and face what we don't think is possible. Know that the circumstances of your life aren't going to break you, you know, and like I said, they're going to reveal who you really are at your core. And that's a beautiful thing, because the more we can know ourselves, I mean, that's self-awareness. That's a path in and of itself that's so beautiful. And the last thing that I would say is to really remember as much about the blessings of your life and about gratitude that you possibly can, because amidst like the horrific things that are happening, you can stay really present. And if you're super present, really in the moment, then you can find something to be grateful for.
Beautiful. Thank you. So what are you doing now? It sounds like, you know, I'm aware of the things that you do that have you pay it forward to others, but share with us some of those things.
I wrote a book called Heartbroken Open, a memoir through loss to self-discovery, and that was shortly after my loss. I wrote a tribute to Richard called An Hour to Live, An Hour to Love, and that was actually a letter he wrote to me that I published as an honor back to him. And right now I'm blogging, I'm podcasting, I'm launching some online programs for women in midlife, and you know, just really I'm all about helping people wake up to their lives and wake up to inspiration and wake up to an inspired life.
Thank you for finding the inspiration in the middle of the despair.
and for shining that light for the rest of the world. It makes such a difference.
Well, thank you for noticing.
It's a joy to have you here.
Thank you.
Kristine says that the circumstances of our life don't make or break us, they reveal us. So let's look at our own circumstances in life. What are they revealing about us? There's this opportunity to become bigger than anything we face, and Kristine demonstrates that really beautifully.